turn this over to her now. Angie, it's all yours.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I'm glad y'all came on to join. I see a few familiar faces. We're going to talk about tech tips for just any and all kind of assistance that might be needed when it comes to the technical pieces of the process, whether you're going through for the first time getting National Board certified or going through your maintenance of certification. So we'll get started. I am Angela Clark, just as Dr. Coleman said. I serve through the University of Montevallo In-Service Center with our incredible program, Alabama Technology in Motion. And this is our team. Several of you recognize your faces on our map. We together serve across the state of Alabama, all of our school systems, districts, teachers, administrators. So if you are curious about who your technology motion specialist is and want to reach out, this is our group. And our website is atim.us, and that is hyperlinked actually here. All right, so let's dig in. We know that no matter which process you're going through, your first time or maintenance certification, you're going to record video. This is probably one of the most stressful parts of the process. That is because a lot of us are not used to recording ourselves and then having to watch it. Like you hear from a lot of people, one of my colleagues and I have a podcast, and like a lot of people say, I don't like hearing my own voice. Well, you're really not going to like seeing your face and you interacting if that's the case. So learn to just love your mannerisms and your voice and how you interact with your students, because you're going to be recording a lot. You're going to submit video. And of course, we want to help and make sure it is your best self that is showing on that video. What does that video need to capture? Obviously, you in action in your classroom, interacting with students. The video should also showcase your instructional strategies. You want to make sure that you approach your video and what you record and decide to use as the exact thing that you want to also be able to write about, because you're going to analyze your video and then you're going to write about it, answering those questions. So, and it's a short one. I know back when I did it, it was 20 minutes. I'm not sure first time how long you have to submit. We had to do it all in one chunk. There was no editing, and we submitted on a VHS tape. I know, it was back in the dark ages. You have a lot of benefits to recording yourself now, and that is, you can do some test runs, which we're going to talk about. You want to do that. You want to show, though, those instructional strategies. That's something you're going to talk about, but you want it to be illustrated and in permanent form in your video. And then you want it to be obvious that you have created intentionally for your students an environment that is a community of learners and that is conducive to learning. All right. So some things I'd like for you to consider as you ponder all the things we're going to talk about, because it's going to be kind of a lot. But I also want you to be thinking about the fact that you will be writing about this video, because we want to get a good video and we want the writing to come very easily after the fact or even before. First time going through National Board certification, you are going to be doing 2 videos from different units of study. So they might be happening at different times during the year. They will be about 10 or 15 minutes each. I don't know all the specific rules on editing, but I do believe there are some edits allowed. I know for MOC there is. You also want to showcase a few different things, including strategies that are different, possibly even multiple strategies in one. The format might be whole group one time or part of the lesson, and small groups another part. You might be having some type of debate. I know that's what I did when I went through my first time. I'll never forget it, because I had the room divided and all the students for this group, for this side were on this side of the room and for the other on the other side. And it was actually really hard to get all of that in a video. But just know you don't have to get the entire classroom. So that hopefully will take a little pressure because we're going to talk about camera placement too. And then you want to showcase some strategies, something specific that you know you want to talk about. So think about it. Are you going to have students working in pairs or having a quick three-pair share activity as a part of your direct instruction? Because these can be, like I said, combined. And if that's what you want to show, you want to plan for that. Maybe the students are creating graphic organizers. Maybe you're showing a graphic organizer on your overhead projector or your on your interactive panel. Students might be doing hexagonal thinking. Maybe they're doing station rotations. They might be doing a lab if you're science. So think about what it is you want to talk about, and that's going to be important in how you plan for your video recording. Let me scoot this little panel over so I can see. I'm not going to read all the slides to you. You will have all this. It'll be in the recording. I definitely would say when you're getting closer to the time you're going to record and when you're going to be submitting, you might want to come back and watch or at least get the transcript of this video just as reminders for you. All right, so a couple things. You have to have those release forms. Do that as soon as possible. Even if it's week 1, if you know you're going to record a certain class, go ahead and get those forms out. I came from the secondary world. So when I sent out my forms, I want to say I had different students. Like I taught on semester. I don't really remember why, but I got new students in January. So I had to get to know them really fast. And by February, I was recording. So as soon as I kind of got to know which class I was going to pick to record, I went ahead and sent out the forms. If you already know, like you teach 3rd grade and you know that those are the students you're going to be recording, you could go ahead and send that form out week 1, or at least in August, because you want to have all those back. I'm not going to go too much into the what to do if somebody says no, because obviously you want to have a plan for how you might ask that parent more individually. But you can always have a student in a space in the room where you know the sphere of recording is not going to get to them. Like you might want to have a 3/4 of your room showing in the video, but where that child is does not show. Because remember, there's no editing, so you can't edit them out. So you're just going to have to be a little strategic about that. You want to video record yourself and your voice. So it's going to have to be you in the camera angle as much as possible, and your voice is going to need to be heard. So we'll talk about both of those things a little more in depth. You do want to show as much of your class as possible. And if someone's recording for you, that's a little easier because they can pan the room and they can zoom in and out and kind of get close to you if you're having an interaction with a student. But the class and you must be heard. Scan the room for identifying items. This is important to do. And as you're planning for your classroom in the upcoming school year, remember that you might have things that you're going to know you need to cover up or that you just don't want to put up altogether for the start of the school year. If you're not going to record till say November or December, then I'd say go ahead and put things up, but just make a note. I'm going to have to take that down. You can't have things that show your school name, your state name, and anything identifying about you. By the way, if you have any questions or want to make a comment, you're welcome to post in the chat. I can't see it right now, but I know Dr. Coleman can. And when I finish the formal presentation, I will be happy to go over and look. I'm not going to say I have all the answers exactly, but I know where to find them out, and we will make sure everybody is helped. Obviously, if we are going to be recording a video, we've got to have a camera. And we do want to have a good camera. But honestly, this little guy has as good a camera as anything else. But if you have a camcorder or have access to checking one out and you want one, you know, that works too. It does need to be able to, of course, pull into a digital format. If your video is not an MP4 to start with, that's okay. It might come out as a WAV or an AVI. We can convert it anyway. So that's not a big deal. But you do want a good resolution camera. And phones, iPads have great cameras built in. If you want a tripod, that helps because then it's easy. If you don't have someone filming for you, then you can go over and kind of move the camera to give a different angle. I had some phone tripods. They tended to kind of fall over on me. So make sure you get one that's going to be stable. They sit up on a desk or up on a shelf, so they're pretty easy to manipulate. If you have a full-on tripod, that one's only going to, probably be able to sit on the floor. Most of them can be shrunk down though a little bit. If you use a phone, turn it. A lot of us video just like this. We have the phone up. Don't hesitate to turn it. Actually, you probably want your flashes on the top here. So turn your camera landscape, and that way your video is going to fit the screen of a computer, which is where it's going to be watched. When we are just recording in our normal day life, we don't tend to think about that. But I would say definitely consider it and make a note to yourself. Try it both ways, but landscape is going to be the better option, okay? Know how much storage you have. You can look in the settings on your phone, whether it's an Android or an iPhone, and tell how much storage you have left. Videos are going to be large files. And when you use the higher resolution, they're going to be even bigger. So you want to take that into consideration. I have tried to help people before who recorded on an iPad that was not theirs, and it did not have enough storage on it. And so then even if the video recorded, to pull it off of there to export it out of the iPad was just about impossible. We had to go into their iCloud and we had to manually connect it or with a wire. And anyway, it can turn into a lot. So you want to think about these things ahead of time so that you are prepared and don't have to go through all those headaches. Okay. Sound is important. It's critical. The assessors want to hear your voice. They want to see your interaction, and they want to get a sense of what your classroom is like. So the microphone is essential. You do not have to have an external one attached, but if you want one, they make them. They make them for iPhones that are either Lightning or USB-C, and you can attach it directly to the phone. Same thing with iPads. You can get external mics to attach to pretty much anything. So if that makes you feel better and you know that you're going to get a good high quality sound no matter where you are in your classroom, this is a time it's probably worth it because they're not very expensive. And if anybody has a thought on, I don't really promote brands or anything like that, but if you have one that you particularly like and you'd like to share that in the chat, I invite you to do it. We're here to share and learn from each other. It's been a long time since I've recorded. I actually had to borrow a class when I last did my MOC. And so I was a guest at the high school I went to, and I went and met the students in February, and then I recorded the week before spring break. Yeah, I will not be doing that again. I'm going to do my timings a lot better. But they were great. No students had to be pushed out of the image or of my camera angle, but the classroom and the way it was set up, because it wasn't mine, I had to just manage with what I had. I couldn't get the whole classroom. So I just made a mental note of that and tried to make sure that as I made the rounds to the different groups of students that I tried to keep myself in the, where the camera was. And if I was out of the camera for any amount of time, you know what? I just explained that in my writing. So these are not difficult things. You don't want to be out of the picture the whole time though. Now, what if there is a sound issue? Well, there are some tools in a lot of programs that are available online that allow you to enhance that sound even after the fact. Y'all, there's going to be background noises that come up. Air conditioners make noise, and you might not notice it when you're in the classroom, but when that recording is going, those sounds will pick up. So there could be some adjustments you have to make, and isn't it good news that that's not considered an edit? So just keep that in mind, but you want to test your sound ahead of time. I mean, take a quick 15-second video and just go and say testing, testing throughout the room, and just make sure that when you rewatch it back, you can hear it well. All right, so this slide has the full-on tripod. This was my setup back in the day, but I didn't even have a digital video camera. It was just a plain old tape recorder. I want to say that would have been 99 or 2000. It was a long time ago. We have lots of options though for really great equipment and great tripods that'll allow you to pan the room, go up and down, zoom in, out. If you have someone that's going to record for you, make sure that you give them a little training and give them a heads up on what all you need to show in your video. Do that all ahead of time. The tripod can be distracting, so there is absolutely no requirement to have this. But if you need the height and you're in a situation kind of like I was able to find a place on the top of a shelf where I could get my phone angled just so I needed it to get most of the classroom. But that part can be kind of tough because you're trying to show you, but you know you've also got to show your students. And so the setup of your room is going to determine where you end up placing your camera. And if there's not a spot to put it, you just might need a tripod. But they can cause shakiness. So I just want to give you the heads up on that. They also make it real obvious to the students that you are recording. And so that can make the students, depending on what age they are, a little excited, and they might act a little different than they usually do. Sometimes that's good. Sometimes that's not so good. But make sure that the camera is focused on you. You are the subject, and your student groups that you're trying to show the assessors, that's what you want the camera on. It's not really focused on the walls of your room, although you do want to have a neat looking classroom. You don't want stuff everywhere that the camera picks up. Make sure there's no cords in the way. Oh my goodness, that can be a critical step. To check before you turn on the camera. Make sure if there are any cords or cables anywhere that you have those put up. I mean, they may not have anything to do with the camera. It could just be to your computer or a printer, but you don't want to risk tripping over one of those when you're trying to record yourself. You want everything to be nice, neat, and clean. Right? Lighting is important. Now, this isn't a piece of equipment exactly, but kinda. Because if your video is too dark or too dim or too fuzzy, it's not going to be clear. And what we're trying to do is illustrate for the assessors what happens in our classroom. We don't want any barriers or obstacles to that, right? So make sure that when you do your trials that you have good lighting. It could be a matter of just getting one of those external ring lights. They make them actually for iPads. They're little bitty and they can attach right on top of the phone or the iPad. Or you can have a larger ring light that might need a tripod. Sorry, if we're trying to stay away from the tripod, you don't want that kind. You do need to make sure your phone's not going to fall over though. So if you attach a light to it, that's going to change or shift the weight of it. So you want to think through all those things, find a way to set it up so that it's not going to tip over or go off balance. Your evaluators want to see you in action. They want to hear your voice. And so you want them to see the best version of you, right? Check your lighting. Check the lighting when the camera angle is on the students as well to make sure that they can be seen and heard. Well, the hearing part, that's a little different than the lighting, but you get what I'm saying. Also, just check for background and foreground to make sure nothing's going to be in the way. This part is particularly tough. If you look at the picture right here, what can you not see? The faces of the students, right? The nonverbal cues are a part of the communication and the interaction. So at some point, you do want to try to have the camera angle so that it's picking up the students' faces and nonverbal communication as well. So it's just something to think about. When I did my last, this is the one I can remember, my last recording, I just remembered that I set the desks up in such a way that the students were on either side so that at least at some point when I was facing the students, some of their faces would be showing on the camera. Not all of them would be, but some of them would. So those are things that you can think about ahead of time. All right. When you're ready to record, you want to practice, but I hear this all the time. Some people end up using what they thought was just a practice or a trial run. They're like, what do you know? The first day, that was the best part of the lesson. I want to use it. Great. That's awesome. Make sure though you've checked all the boxes ahead. So that's why we kind of focused on all those little parts that are a lot of variables and you need to do a lot of prep ahead, because when you go to do your practice, just know you could end up using one of those. Find the right angle, check your lighting, do a quick recording. Doesn't have to be a 20-minute. You could just do a 5-minute recording. Listen, a 5-minute recording is much easier to get off of your phone and take a look at and do some quick edits than a 20-minute piece is. Those are going to be very large files. So go ahead and do that real quick, rewatch it. Check some of the things that this is probably not in the presentation exactly, but check some of those things that you know might be annoying even to you. But, like we don't want to distract. We want for things to be as clear and stress-free as possible. So if there's anything that you recognize immediately as a mannerism that might distract the assessors, go ahead and just try to practice without doing those things. The most common thing that we have happen when we go to do our podcast recording is people say, I forgot what I was going to say. Now we can stop it because we're not live, but this is going to be live. And so if you need a outline, a bullet point list at your fingertips, have it there. No one's going to judge on that because you don't want to forget what comes next or there was a critical thing you wanted to say. If you notice that you're saying and ah or like and so way too often in that 5 minutes, that's just going to be magnified when you go to record 10 or 20 minutes. So you want to make sure that you start practicing taking out those filler words in your natural speech. We all do it, but you guys know, there are times when somebody goes a little too far, like there are too many of those in the session that you just listened to. So you do want to work a little bit on trying to get those filler words out of your speaking. And that is, again, so that you have a really strong video to turn in. Record several sessions. I can remember recording every day in a full week. And then I went back and watched. Now, why did I do that? One, I wanted my students to get used to the camera being in the room. And they didn't ever know when it was on or off. They weren't paying attention. But I wanted them to get used to it so that they weren't trying to turn at it and make funny faces or, that they knew where it was so that they, just wouldn't maybe misbehave. I don't know. There's really no way to stop that. If you do have a misbehavior and you have to have a negative sort of interaction, I wouldn't worry about that. You'll be able to write to it. It happens. It just does. I taught middle school most recently. And so those kids were, they were good, but somebody was probably going to make a funny face or do something inappropriate in the video. And it just don't think that ruins it. All right. When you watch, pay attention to the video quality. As much as you're going to be looking at yourself and listening for sound, you also want the quality of your video to be really good. No fuzzy or blurriness. You don't want something to be half over the lens and where some of it's cut off. Like there can be so many things that might happen. Those are not going to be any good. And if you are counting on recording that lesson that day and some little thing gets in your way, you might have to do it over again. But you want to do everything possible ahead of time so that that does not happen. All right, some suggestions. If possible, you know what? When you've been through National Board, nobody knows what you're going to go through like we do, right? And we know what to expect when we go in to record for a teacher. I've done it many times, not in a while, but I have done it before. If not, a teacher that you can give a quick little, like I said, initiation to the process and what you're trying to do and what you're trying to show, if they're willing to come in and record for you, that's great because they'll be able to shift that camera angle and they can even look at the preview on whatever device you're using and watch and make sure that your lighting is good, that the sound can be heard and all of that. Someone might want to help you, or you can have somebody help you out with walking around the room that understands what you're trying to show and maybe even give you suggestions. Okay, don't be afraid to ask somebody to help you out with this. Start with what was required in the written commentary. Now that varies by content area and by grade level, depending on what you are going for, which area of National Board you're trying for. You need to read your written commentary on this very component so that you know. If this is what it says, and this is probably generic, it could be in all of them, what specific approaches, strategies, techniques, or activities did you use to promote active student engagement in the lesson? But that's exactly what you need to try to show, right? So you might record for a whole hour, but you're going to pick out maybe a 10-minute segment. So you want to think about, what all do I want that 10 minutes to show? And kind of go from there. Cite specific examples from the video recording. That's exactly what you're going to have to do. When I walked over to group A, where the girl with the red shirt is, the student asked this question, I responded with this, and this is why, and this is where it led, and this is what happened next. You're going to be speaking to these specific interactions when you write. Make sure you show your students actively involved. Okay, we said from the start, it is you, but this isn't stage on the stage recording. At least that's not all of it. If you're giving instructions and then your students move into groups and you walk around the room and interact with them, great. That's what you want to show. You don't want it to be all you at the front of the room talking to your students and only talking to them. The video needs to show the interaction. And that's probably one of the hardest things to plan for and make sure you get the quality of video that you're looking for. And like I said, if you have any thoughts, please post that in the chat. Again, that's coming from my experience. I guess this will be my 4th round. I've renewed twice now, and I've got one more, and then possibly be retired after the next one comes around. We'll see. But you learn new things every time you do it. And I'll tell you, if you have someone helping you, it really does take a lot of the pressure off. So see if there's a kind person that will give some of their time to come and record for you. All right, let's talk formatting. This is really one of the parts that's going to come towards the end, but you just want to make sure that you know the video has got to play for the assessor, and they want it in an MP4. Kind of like everybody knows what a doc is. A spreadsheet's usually an XLS file. PDFs, we're familiar with that one, right? We'll talk about those in a minute. Your video is going to be an MP4 format. So really, no matter what it comes out of the camera as, when you go into your edits or your pieces together, and then you got your final video, we're going to not only need to convert it, we're going to need to compress it. And so these are the requirements given to us by the National Board. And you can see it right there. I should have a little arrow. There's our arrow right there. .mp4. That's going to be your final format that you need to upload. They will not accept anything else. They also want the file to be between 200 meg and 300 meg or less. This is not impossible with larger videos, but it does require a conversion, and there are plenty of products out there that will do that. Okay. So once we record on our phone, this is where I want to say, anybody want to share a story? If you record on an iPad, you can still get that video to your computer to do the edits. And it's a lot easier to do edits on a computer and with a mouse. It just is. I think I was able to piece together 3 different pieces when I did my last MOC. I don't remember what the total time was. It might have been a total of 10 minutes. So I had like a 3-minute segment, a 3-minute, and then a 2-minute or something like that. You know, you're going to need to do some edits. Not heavy edits, but you got to have a program that's going to do what you need it to do, and even just splicing or piecing those together. So there are some free ones out there. You don't have to go purchase anything. If you're going to use iMovie, that's probably on the same device. Great. You don't have to move your video. But if you do, you're probably going to need to download it or send it through a cable. I generally use my Google Drive to pull everything down. If you have Microsoft Office 365 or another, or OneDrive, another storage area, that's where you want to get that video into that storage area so that you can open it up no matter what program you end up deciding to go with. Okay, and I hope that makes sense. I know if this were a workshop, 3 hours or so, we could actually do this, but I definitely recommend you practice. Just get any video, record a 30-second video on your phone and practice sending that to your Google Drive, because you'll have to sign in on the device and then put it in there, and you'll see that even a 30-second video doesn't go in just like that. It will take several seconds, if not a minute, to download. So the files we're going to be moving are a lot bigger. On that note, it does help if you can preview all your videos on the device you took them on, and then just decide, this is the one I want to use. This one, and this one. And then just get all three of those so that you're not taking all the video files and trying to move them to another place. Hopefully that makes sense. All right. You do need a good internet connection. I know everything works better if it's a wired connection, but even if it isn't, being on your home Wi-Fi rather than a public or a school Wi-Fi is going to work a lot better, because you know that you can have all the devices in your house turned off and just use, your 5G or whatever connection. That will help the speed too when it's going into its new storage space. All right, there's our file type again, MP4. Our final file, even if you've got it edited and it's now in a .wav file or a WAV file, then we're going to take it and upload it somewhere else, maybe to YouTube. You can bring it to iMovie. You can even do some of these in Canva or Windows Media Player. I mean, there are lots of different options. I used to use, what was that one I like to do my quick edits with? Clipchamp. I think it's an extension for Google. That was one of my favorites. Wherever you're going to bring it, you're going to upload it, and then you're going to convert it. And so there's 3 different links in the presentation, which, let me back up real quick. I'm going to go back to slide 1 just for a second, because I had this up at the top and I think I didn't tell y'all. But it's canva.link/techtips26. And tell you what, let me escape real quick and I will pop that into the chat because I really don't want anyone to miss it. That is your access to the presentation. Got going a little too fast. Y'all didn't tell me. Make sure I'm sending it to everybody. Okay, there you go. And you don't have to join in the presentation, but if you want to and you want access to those links, you'll want to pull that up. I'll give you a second to do that. Oops. And so those tips for conversion are just taking your video and getting it to MP4 format. If you have a Windows machine, which is actually what I'm working on right now, there's for Windows users. And then if you're Mac, there's even a video conversion help for that as well. I love this little note at the bottom. There was a time, I mean, I'd have my whole class of students come in and we'd all try to go to the same website at the same time. And I mean, we about crashed the system a couple decades ago, but it happened. There are times, y'all, where the internet is more heavily used than others. I know. And it can impact your video and the slowness. I don't know, y'all probably knew that already, but I just wanted to point that out, that like, if I were to go to a site that was, real heavily used earlier in the day, I'd probably zip to it if I went at, say, 6 o'clock at night or midnight. Not that you have to do that, but these are things that happen. So if you're struggling with your Wi-Fi and you're like, oh, I don't know how I'm going to get this video, it just might be the time that you're trying to do it. Okay. And then, believe it or not, some districts, they do know this happens, and they sort of guide or throttle the bandwidth at certain times so that it's weaker in certain places. So you just might be hitting, if you're on your school network, you might be hitting it at the wrong time of day. And you definitely don't want to be trying to do something wirelessly when updates are being pushed out, because that's another thing that tends to happen while computers are on and everyone's at school. So some things to think about. Don't panic if your video isn't going. And that one says allow at least an hour for the video to upload. I would hope it doesn't take that long. In this day and age, I'm thinking we have a little better Wi-Fi than that, but it could depend on the quality and the size. See, when you're uploading your video back to the web, to the tool that you're going to convert, it's still huge. We still got to compress it. Okay, so when files are that big, it could take a long time. So be patient. And by the way, I don't have a screenshot of this, but this is something that happens. I'll put a video in my drive and it looks like it's there and I see the thumbnail, but it isn't there yet. I have a word for that. I call it rendering. It's still
Excuse
rendering.
me, excuse
Yes,
me, Angela. Hey,
absolutely.
the Canva link is not working. I mean,
Oh, okay. Thank you for letting me know that.
you're
I
welcome.
appreciate that so much because I can't see y'all anymore. I mean, I'm really feel like I'm blind here. Okay, let me pop out of this real quick. And I was so excited because I personalized my link. Um,
Yeah.
Anyone with the link must have. All right, let's just do this. I'm gonna get live feedback. I'm gonna pop this link right in there. Sorry, it's not the pretty one. Let's try this one.
Okay, you're good.
Great. Sometimes you have to trick the technology, right?
Mhm.
Okay, good. I am so glad. Okay. So we talked about several things. I'm going to back up just real quick and mention this because downloading and uploading are two different parts of the process. Okay. So when you're downloading your video, that's if you're going to try to do edits and you did it on your phone, like the video's on your phone and in the cloud, and you want to get it to your drive, you can download it to your drive right here. Okay. Or you can send it. Sometimes videos don't usually email. I'm just going to tell you right now. People say, just email it to yourself. Yeah, that's going to work with a PDF, but probably not with a video. Okay. You might get a link, but you need to actually get the whole video because then you're going to put it in another tool to do the editing. Then you're going to convert it and compress it. And then the final step is that upload back to your computer so that you can send that file in on the portal. Okay, so there are kind of a lot of steps, but hopefully going back through this guide, it has each of the steps really are all in here. So, and everybody has a different process, so it makes it a little bit difficult. If your video is too large or the wrong format, some videos, video editors will save it as an MP4, and you're like, oh, I'm good to go. You need to check the file size. And before you do that, if you're going to try to move the video, you might need to do a speed test. So there is a link here if you need to do a speed test for your device. So that's kind of cool to do. If you don't have any idea what the file size is, when you're in your drive or in your folders and you see the file, you can usually right click on it and it will tell you the size. If it is not between 200 and 300 meg, but it is less than 500, you should still be able to get away with uploading that. If you need to compress it, then that is still another step, okay? And a lot of people just pull it to YouTube. It's real easy and quick to compress it there, and then you can download it right after. And that step should happen really fast. But again, all of that is towards the end when you're just ready to submit. And here we are in July. So are you going to remember all these steps? Possibly not, but you've got the presentation, you'll have access to the recording, and there are a lot of folks around that will help you through this. There are many days I just went to a room where a lot of folks had come that were trying to submit their national boards, and I just walked around the room helping them get files uploaded. If we needed to compress them or change something, we did it right then. So there are going to be a lot of people that are willing to help you with these steps. You just got to reach out. Of course, you want a team of people that are going to be on your side and cheering for you. But sometimes you do need people to help you with steps in the process. Okay. YouTube is free to use. And this is not, oh, wait, I'm putting myself on YouTube. No, no, you're just bringing your file to YouTube and keeping it private so that you can do that compression real quick. And then you can pull it right back down. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. And the reason I say, because YouTube is usually part of your Google and that's trustworthy more so than these free ones. Those you do want to be careful of. You don't ever know where video content or any files that you might use go when you use a free download movie editor. Okay, so do be careful of those. iMovie is installed on your device. It is fine. It will compress, so you can do that if you have Apple devices. If you don't want to use YouTube and you want another suggestion, that could be one of those that, well, it depends on what do you have access to. Are you Google? Are you Microsoft? And so then other suggestions can be made. Like I say, Clipchamp is one of those third-party ones that I just tended to like because well, go ahead. I could get the video straight from my drive and it would save it right back to my drive for me. So some of these other steps that can be involved were just taken out. So I loved that about Clipchamp. I did have to have the extension, and some people can't put their own extensions on their Google. So that's where it gets a little messy as well. Yeah, but YouTube will compress and then you just download it right back and then it's not there permanently. So we're going to switch gears for a second, but let me stop and just, or we'll say pause and come back over and see. I'll give you a couple minutes to just process because that was a lot. And I know that we have limited time today, but the last part is going to be a little bit about AI and some other tech tips as far as your files that you're going to be uploading as well, because it's not just video, remember. Thank you, Dr. Coleman. It is going to be your samples, work samples, and other forms that you have to fill out that you are also are going to need to upload and then join together in a PDF, because that PDF file with all those papers in it is what you're going to upload to the portal in the end. So let me just see if anyone has any more comments or questions on video. Oh, we're going to do that next, Lisa. Yep, I have a couple of tips on that. Absolutely. Okay. I gave, I think, appropriate wait time, so we'll just move on real quick. We are going to talk about PDFs though, so don't think I'm skipping over you. The AI tools that are out there right now are amazing for so many of us that absolutely know how to do things the hard way and the very long way. But it's nice to have tools that can help us. If you do use any of those to generate materials, worksheets, ideas for instruction or how to adapt instruction, great. You're going to want to disclose that. So you probably want to make sure you note or keep a running log of any AIs that you use, because it is considered technology and it's fine to use technology when you're a teacher, right? But if you've used any of those to create assessments or instructional materials, you probably want to disclose that. And so remembering your prompt or what tool you used is probably a good idea. What you cannot use AI for is to write your commentary on your components. And it can also not be used to complete any forms because some of those you have to write descriptions on. So we want to exercise academic integrity and ethics when we're using AI. The national board, there is a note here, says it has no plans to use AI to assess candidate submissions. I suppose that could change at some point in the future. Or maybe it becomes one of the assessors. I don't know. But I'm glad we have people. Like, we never want the human to be out of the loop, right? And so that hopefully sets your mind at ease. But I just wanted to address AI in our presentation today. All right, so real quick, because we are going to talk about PDFs and documents, you of course want to make sure you follow the rules as far as margins, sizes of fonts, the layout, how you need to incorporate your student work or evidence of learning, any instructional materials that you're trying to bring in. They've got to be in that 8.5 by 11. Has to be that way. So whereas earlier, when we were talking about turning your camera for the video, these are generally, they're going to be portrait. Sorry, I couldn't get the word out. I was thinking landscape and portrait, right? And so you're going to need a word processing program. It can be Word, it can be Google Docs. Canva even has docs now, whatever, or an Apple product, whatever you're using, they have to be formatted in a certain way. So make sure you pay attention to those specifications, please. A few more things. If you have photos or images, there are some specifics on how many of those you can include on a sheet of paper. I suggest that it's just easier to use a slide, and then just when you save it, turn it portrait if you want it to be facing the same way as the rest of your pages. But if you're going to include pictures or images, which I did, I think I didn't know any better and I put them each on their own page. If you can put 6 smaller items on a page, do it. That just allows you to strengthen your writing and your evidence with more, photos or artifacts. So if you have one page and you're going to put multiple ones on it, you probably need to scan that. And you want to scan it to either a PDF or just a page that you can put in your document, because it's fine to PDF everything at the very end, okay? You need to make sure those are clear. So you want to use good resolution. If it's a photograph, you don't want it to be zoomed in too much. Just trust that they're going to be able to see what's going on. If it's a piece of student work, you probably need to scan that to a PNG or a JPEG, which are image files, and then add it to your slide. On a slide, you can manipulate easier. You can put an image, and put them on the page a little better. So that's why you can do it in a doc, but it's not as easy. So I like organizing those on a slide first. And then you can always download that one slide as a PDF or as an image and put it into your document. Okay, so the Q&As, I have a couple more slides that I'll zip through real quick, and these are just more for if you have this question, here you go. But I'll highlight a couple of these things since we have a few minutes left, not many, but a few. Naming your files. You don't want your name to be in the name of your file. You're going to be uploading that. So pay attention. I used to just name mine. I think I had to do mine with my number and like component 1, or I just put, something like that on there. NBCT component 1, NBCT component 2, but come up with a naming convention and don't use special characters. What information should be included in the submission? You all probably know this. You want to reread this, but make sure that before you go pulling everything together into a PDF, that you know what should and should not be in your written commentary. Okay, scanner only saves to JPEG, or you don't know how to save to a PDF. Learn how to scan. Either get a scanner app, or sometimes I just use the photos on my phone. But if you're using Google Drive, and this is kind of specific to Google Drive, sign in on your Google Drive on your phone. You can practice this. Look, I gave you the steps to practice. Or you can go to Canva if you prefer Canva. It'll do it as well. When you're on your phone, there's a little plus sign in the lower right corner for you to add things. When you pull that up, guess what the second one says? Scan document. Click Scan Document, and you can hold your phone directly above. It's better to have a good contrasting background on, like a table, something solid. Put your papers on there, whatever size they are. It doesn't matter. It'll scan it perfectly. It will pick up the edges and scan it to a document. If you want your files to be in separate documents, then you just do one at a time. But if you're trying to scan everything together, then you just scan one page after the next, after the next. And guess what format it comes out in? I know it will PDF it if you want to. You might have to take one extra step there to get it to a PDF, but it will upload, it will scan for you. Okay. I love that. I use that feature all the time. Anytime I need to scan, I don't usually save it to my work folder. If it's personal, I save it to a different drive, but just keep that in mind as you prepare your different files. And the PDF, when you're finally finished, it's not on here, my apologies, but when you're trying to PDF everything, really all you have to do is go to print. Pretend you're going to print it. Save to PDF is one of those options. Whether you're in Microsoft, Google, it doesn't matter what you're in. If you act like you're going to print it, save to PDF will be one of those options, and you can pull everything into the same PDF there. If you don't want to use that method, then you can go to Canva and bring each of your documents into a Canva doc, and then go to share, download, PDF. So you can see the steps. I made them nice and big here with arrows. It's pretty much the same process no matter what tools you're using. But to get a file to a PDF is not difficult, but it is multiple clicks, and you do want to make sure you have everything together. Okay, there's, anyway, another slide. I was hovering too close to the left side of the screen. I'm like, I think we went backwards. Cami will also do the PDF merging and splitting process. And like the note says, Canva will too. Okay. All right, how'd I do? Ooh, I went 2 minutes over. My apologies. That's pretty much the end. There's so many tech things we could have probably covered. But don't be afraid to include tech in your entry. You know that this wasn't really a presentation on that because it was tips, but do plan for a technology component or something digital when you are doing your unit of study, because we are teaching a digital generation. And so as much as we as teachers need to be confident and competent with our use of technology, our students do as well. So it is not a bad thing to incorporate technology into your lessons. And if your ATIM specialist can serve you or help in any way with that part of the process, you just reach out and let us know. Oh, ATIM friends, did I miss anything? Y'all got any more little quick tips for our folks that are still in?
No, I actually just put up the, oh gosh, that's got a bad feedback. Can y'all hear me?
Oh,
You're in there twice, Jennifer, so I don't know if
that happens to me sometimes.
Amazing tips, Angie. Amazing.
Teachers are
Thank
so
you.
You're welcome. Y'all, I got to do it this year too, so I got to find a class to borrow again.
Hey, Angie.
I just turned mine in, so in May.
I'm stopping the recording.